Hello, students. This is CET 233, Architecture Design class for the spring 2020, Stark State College. I was hoping to connect with you this morning, but I know we might have some communication and technical difficulties. So, for the time being, I actually going to post a lecture on our final project for this semester, which is our commercial project, and it is basically a building that will accommodate two tenants. One, we know what they want, and the other one basically will be built out, which means that the outside will be completely done. When somebody drives by and look at the building, it would look 100% complete. However, on the inside of the building, part of it, approximately half, will be basically only the skeleton on the inside, so you will be able to see that the stud walls, and no insulation, no electrical, no floor, no concrete floor. This is kind of like a trend that goes around in our area, and they wait for a tenant that would be leasing, so the landlord will build this with a tenant already locked in with a contract, and this is basically our scenario here. So again, the building on the outside should look completely done. Of course, design, balanced design, and that's kind of like the challenge. Of course, for our side, the one that we have a tenant, which is the chiropractor, is it's easy because we know what they want. However, on the other side, it should look like as if it's kind of like symmetrical or balanced in a way, and ready to build, somebody who would like to lease it. So, looking at the site, I gave you, and it is loaded in here. So here's actually our, what I called it, idea one. Our site is 140 feet wide by 150 feet deep, and this is in Jackson Township. And pretty much this is a lot that has only the front accessible to a road, and the way it's going to basically have is that you will have landscape buffer on the backside 10 feet, and 5 feet on the inside, on the sides, left and right, or east and west. And then on the south end, which is the front, the entry, you have actually 20 feet landscape buffer, of course, minus the entry. Now, I gave you a suggested layout. You are free to use it. You don't have to use it, but you are free to use it if you like. And I gave you two ideas, one with single entry, and the other one is with multiple or two entries. You are allowed to have two driveways or aprons or single aprons. The stipulation or the condition is they have to be 50 feet apart. So again, you are welcome to use this design, no problem, and just basically fit it to your building design. As you can see here, the building sits back, good distance. When we look at our setbacks in the front is 85 feet from the front. The rear and the side are 15 feet. All of you took land planning, at least as far as I remember, and you should know what these are, the setbacks and then the landscape buffers. So the landscape buffer actually is within the setbacks, but you cannot actually have pavement on it. But the setback, you can have pavement and you can have parking. As you can see here, the way the building or the way the whole area is intended is that you will have parkings in the front, and the building will be tucked towards the back end of the property. So going back to our the idea 1 and idea 2 in here. So this is idea 1 is right here in the somewhere in the middle with 2 handicap. You can always go back to your land planning, and I do have that manual that we used in land planning, and it is actually here in Blackboard. However, you don't really have much to see here. You can use this for reference if you like. And I also recommend, very, very highly recommend, don't worry and don't waste a lot of time at this point, on your site plan. Like I said, it is already, you have two design, you can adopt one of them, no problem, and just basically put your footprint. So let's look at the building itself. The building itself, the maximum footprint that you can have would be 45 feet because of the front setback, and we want to have some kind of a sidewalk to offload the cars from here to it. So I would say that your maximum building depth here, setting it back, the landscape buffer is 10 feet, and then you have 5 foot, to give you the 15-foot setback requirement. And on the sides, the same thing, so 15 and 15 and 15. So in here, it's 140 minus 30, that's 110. And here it says 50, but actually 50 is that for the landscape buffer, minus 5, so that will be 45. So write it down. The maximum, building footprint would be 45 by 110 wide. That doesn't mean the box actually would be a rectangular box that way. That's a lot of square feet, as you can probably guess it. The 45 by 110 give you about 4,950 square feet. Well, we have a minimum and we have a maximum. Again, a developer, a landlord, has a budget. Again, what that means is the footprint, of course, if you have like angles and corners and so forth. So, the maximum out of the building, this way will be 110, and the maximum out would be, 45, as you can see it in here. So that's where you want to start. If you reflect back on drafting 1 and drafting 2, but mainly drafting 1 actually is when you start something, you want designing something, which is what you're doing, we need to have some kind of usually limitations. We did that in the first project, the residential project. On the second one that you just submitted, there wasn't much actually of a limitation because it was, condos open, and again, that was just, the idea was to, do something as a multifamily. But here, so start by sketching in the floor plan, whether you are using soft plan or you are using Rivet, to sketch a box that is 110 by 45. That's where you want to start. And then you want to design your building within that box. Be as creative as you can be. Now, in here, I was actually very fortunate. This is just something I put as our title. I captured that image, and I thought it was perfect. As you can see here, this is part of a building, so it could be actually something like what we're doing. We are using the left side. You are free to use your right side of the building or the left side of the building. It does not matter, your choice. And it doesn't have to be exactly half and half. So this here part could, stick in here or could be less and whatnot. But this looks like actually kind of like a doctor's office, which is, again, similar to a chiropractor, but not exactly. But they have exam rooms and procedure rooms and the staff room and waiting areas and consultations, which is kind of like an office or a head nurse. And here's the nurse's station. So something similar, and again, you can use it for inspiration, that basically you have people coming in, they have 2 entrances, one for the office personnel and one for the patients coming in visiting, and they have that waiting area and then the business office. Again, feel free, that's okay. Unfortunately here that they have those 2 bathrooms and they are basically far apart. we want to actually provide two restrooms, and I think having them next to each other would be more efficient, and they have to be ADA compliant. So with that said, let's go back to our requirement in here that this building minimum is 3,900 square feet, maximum is 4,100 square feet, divided into equal spaces. Again, don't dwell on the equal part. So, maybe one side, let's say that you have a building, I'm going to take just the average of those two numbers, the minimum and the maximum. So let's say I have 4,000 square foot building, and therefore that 4,000, I have one that's 2,100 and the other one is 1,900. That's fine, okay? But not like one area is 3,000 and the other area is 1,000. No, that's too much. So equal or close to equal, within 100 plus, or minus square feet difference, that's okay. Again, it does not have to be, but if you want it to be, that's fine. It can be exactly half, no problem. Now, one space, half the building will be a tenant or as a chiropractic office with the requirements described below. The other one will be open, with the outside being 100% complete, and the inside will be ready to be finished, completed the future tenant. We don't know what that tenant, that's not really our thing to design. So all we're designing are the windows and the exit doors and whatnot and the entry doors. You can choose any architectural style. It has to be a slab on grade. It has to be one story, and it has to be 10 feet high. And basically, because of the size and the occupancy, each unit need only, by code, one entrance exit door, egress, which would be the front. The roof pitch will be a 612 minimum. If you want to go higher, again, it's up to you. But basically, these are the minimum requirements. And again, the height is the height. Don't go more than 10 feet. That's waste of, dollars and waste of space. And I would not recommend more than 612. But again, it's up to you if you want to, have some kind of variations of the entry, covered entry, reverse gables, or something like that. Now, let's talk about the egress. This is a code requirement, that we can actually get away because of the space, the small space. But that does not mean you cannot provide another door, let's say in the back, let's say for the staff, that they actually can go back and there's maybe a little, courtyard outside or, a table. Maybe they have smokers, maybe just like want to go and take a break and lunch and whatnot outside in good weather. Again, these are just some ideas I'm throwing. It's not requirement. So, when I say minimum, requirement is one, that's basically what it is. You can put as many as you like. But again, don't go overboard. So don't put like 4 doors in the building or each side of the building, for each tenant. Again, one is what's required. By all means, I would not see why we cannot have another door, maybe towards the back, maybe towards the side. Remember, like this here, they have 2, and I can tell that they have one for the patients coming in and then one for the staff coming in. Maybe you can have one like, in the back here somewhere, maybe for the doctor to come in, or maybe, like I said, you are required. There is no here, room for the staff, to actually for like lunch room or break room. In our requirement there is, so maybe you can have like somewhere here like a little patio or whatnot, and so forth. Again, depending on your design. So let's continue with the design and let's continue with what we actually have. And here it says basically the site requirement that you're going to have 20 parking spaces to handicap. I already, like I mentioned at the beginning, I have 2 proposed or 2 suggested sites. You can absolutely use them. However, if you want to do something different, that's up to you. The building setback requirements, the front, the minimum is 85 feet. The rear and the sides are 15. Site landscape buffer areas requirements, as I mentioned also at the beginning of this video, 20 feet in the front. The rear is 10 and the sides are 5. So the landscaping, you have to show it as an extra. Of course, that landscaping is within the setbacks. So that's something that would be within the setbacks. Now, let's look at the office design requirement. You need to provide 5 treatment rooms, Each of these rooms is 8 by 10 minimum each. Again, it is 8 by 10, not 80 square feet. It has to be at least 8 foot in one direction and 10 feet in the other direction. We had those kind of questions in the previous projects. For some reason, some of the students took the square feet and they just, went less. You cannot go less than this. Of course, you can go more, but I wouldn't, because that would actually crunch you in space. One of the above these 5 treatments, one of them will be direct access to an X-ray room. And that basically, so there will be a door inside that room that will lead you to the X-ray room. And this X-ray room has to be a minimum of 10 by 12. In addition to that room, you will have another door connected, and that will be 6 by 6 dark room. Again, this is a dark room, so I would not put it on an outside wall unless you have no other choice. But basically, that dark room has no windows. It should not have any windows or anything like that. And that means I can actually use it within the inside or the interior of the building if I need to or if I want to. Now, in addition to all of these, so we have 5 rooms in here, an X-ray room, and then the dark room, so that's 7 rooms. Then an additional 10 by 14 waiting room or area. Again, I say room or area. All you have to do, glance at this here. Do you call this here a room or an area? It's okay. And kind of like exactly really what we want to have, something that would lead you to a counter here, a business office. So that's kind of like why I really liked it. And I hit jackpot when I found that online, just an image of it. A waiting area, and to be a minimum open to a minimum 8 by 10 reception area counter. Now, this reception area counter to be connected to a main office space. The main office space has to be 11 by 14. So in here, this one they call it kind of like the staff in here. This is actually the lunchroom. Here it is. They have it and they put it in the front, but kind of like I mentioned this, I don't want to change the subject here, but let's say, here's that charts. Let's say that this would be, instead of the charts, or could we have the charts, is the office, business office. So this area, reception, they call it business here, that's fine. We will have ours. So again, this is not really what you want to design. This is just inspirational. This is just basically you can look at it and get some ideas what you want to do, or maybe a starting point. Okay, so finished with those rooms. Now we have a doctor that you have to have a 12 by 12 minimum office, and it needs to be in a corner. So they will have the advantage of basically 2 walls with windows. And then in the middle, you should have a centralized, again, in the middle, doesn't have to be smack like in, but somewhere within all these rooms, a therapy room. This room will be 11 by 16. And that's kind of like what really these are the minimum requirements for that office. Now, to service these offices, you have to have American with Disability Act compliant, restrooms. We need to provide 2 single users and 1 for each gender. And we'll get back to that in a second here. And then a utility room for furnace and mop sink, and these will be a minimum of 5 by 8. And then a small lounge break area with sink, minimum 5 by 8. So this actually takes me back to this kind of like here. This one, it says 11 by 8, which is actually nice and large. Again, I'm giving you the minimum, the bare minimum. That doesn't mean that you have to stick with that bare minimum, but you can live with that part if that's the only space we can give them. All of these doors are 3 by 6 foot 8, so we need to use all these doors to be 3 feet by 6 foot 8, as a standard. These are commercial buildings, and we talked about accessibility, and even though the minimum requirement, as you recall, is 2 foot 8 inches, 32 inches, but because it's a commercial construction with the metal frames and the slabs will be thick and whatnot, that actually leads you to must use a 3 feet wide doors. Now, all hallways, square doors to be 4 foot wide. Somebody would ask, why would they have to be 4 foot wide? Well, I want you to look at the ADA manual and the standard, and I have it, of course, for, in the blackboard in here, in this part in here. Here we go, the ADA 2010. And I have another one that's a help guide. This is like 200 and some pages. And here it is. And this is 279 pages. And just to save you some time, there is an egress, and there is actually maneuverability, to be able to maneuver clearance. It starts on the actual page. See here, it says page 176. Here it says it's basically that one here, 180, but basically 170, 117. If you go back to 117 page, and talks about okay. That the doors, there's a lot of different, sorry, it's 120 in here. Let me just open to that. And there we go. So in here, starting at page 120, it talks about that even though we have the minimum, like I said, here's the part that I was actually explaining, is that the clearance is 32, but you can see here that this, frame, and that means the door actually would be bigger. So if the door is 32, that means the actual opening will be less. That's why we said just use, because here they measure the clearance. Here just use 3 feet. This is kind of like a review of that part. Now, if we go down, so where did this 48 inches comes from? Well, because to be able to service occupants with wheelchairs and walkers, here's what the code requires. If they're coming to the room or leaving the room, this could be inside the room or outside the room. You have to figure both ways out in here. So I have to provide him 68 or 60 inches, direct access clearance before the door. So if I'm coming from the inside the room, no problem. And then this is how much, on that room. Again, that's not a problem. Now, if I'm coming in a hallway, and this part in here actually, is the hallway part, that means I have to have, let's say this is 3 feet. That means actually this will be, 5 foot or 4 foot 6 inches hallway. If I'm coming from a hallway, and this door is at the end of the hallway, and the door swings to me. Now, if I'm coming actually in here, and the end of the hallway, and the door swings inside the room, the 48 inches is not a problem, and so forth. So again, picture yourself in each of these scenarios, as being inside the room or outside the room. And what I did is just to make it simpler. If you're having hard time, struggling, trying to, visualize this, if you actually go, this is for me, from past experience and application, if you just simply, have all the hallways and corridors 4 feet wide, and then all the doors, make them swing to the inside of the room, you should be covered. 99% or 95%, you will be covered with actually meeting all that maneuverability requirement found in the ADA. So with that said, that's why I said, so in here, this would be, if I swing it to the hallway, then actually, it doesn't work. So, but actually, if this is coming from inside the room, that's not a problem. This is not a problem, and so forth. So here's the 42 inches. And here is the, basically what I said, if I'm coming, that's where that came. So the 42 in here, if I'm coming to the hinge side or the knob side, the latch side, and here actually I'm coming to the hinge side, and it's a difference. So this is the most common between this here scenario and this scenario G and J. These will be the most common scenarios. So I took the larger one, which is the 48 inches, and basically based it on that. So just remember, to apply that, write it down. All my hallways will be minimum of 4 feet. If you want to go a little bit larger, that's fine. But again, don't waste that space if you can help it. So that's kind of like it. And let's go back to the ADA compliant, restrooms. And pretty much like I said, in the ADA manual that I have posted, there will be, section 6 or chapter 6. Here it is. And it talks about all of these requirements and the clearances and so forth. And yes, by all means, read it. And we have single users, but I also found this little help, guide that also I posted, and that is actually called the ADA. I called it the ADA Help Guide in here. It has 3D visuals, and here it is, single user toilets, and kind of give you ideas about layouts. Again, from previous experience, if you dedicate about maybe like 7 feet by 7 feet boxes for these restrooms, for the most part, you can actually get it, in, no problem. And here's some, illustrations of what you need to do, and again, here is another one. So there is some stipulations. This should be familiar from the previous project, the FHA, the Fair Housing Act requirement for, residential, multifamily residential, 30 inches by 40 inches. That if you provide that in addition to your maneuvering circle or the T, again, depending on the swing of the door and so forth. So let me go back to here just quickly, and we can talk more about this, and maybe in our meetings if we are able to hold these, online meetings together. And in here, so you have actually the turning circle, 60 inches minimum diameter. So this is 5 feet, 60 inches. Or the T, and basically the T is also another way, but again, the T might make it complicated, so I always use with the circle. And you show with the circle in your plan to meet the minimum. Now, can the door swing be part of it or not? Well, depends. If you actually can provide a 30 inches by 48 inches beyond the door swing, then you should be fine. So you have the circle inside here that would actually give you the clearance, but that circle will be within the door swing. Then you provide also a 30 by 48 inches box outside the swing. So I hope that makes sense. And I thought there was actually, some form of a design or a proposal showing you that. Yep, here it is. So in here, they're showing actually all these areas, but also if you show a 60 inches, which is really the easiest way to show it, just show a circle, and then somewhere, that you will also have beyond that, anywhere beyond the door swing, you have an area of 30 inches by 48 inches. That means you meet the requirement. Like I said, start with about 7 feet by 7 feet restroom, and you can absolutely, here's what I was talking about. Since I have this here, this door swing is within that area, I had to show a clearance areas beyond that. And here's more examples. And like I said, yes, sometimes we make the door swings to the outside. I would not, again, because that would affect your hallways and all that maneuverability we just, covered. So in here, just, have that swing to the inside, single user. You will have a sink and a toilet, period. That's it. No more, fixtures in those bathrooms, 2 fixtures for both male and female. And that would be the easiest route to go. Now, you might have to, also have these as enlarged plans in the floor plan, and for you, I know some of you tried to do that, and did that actually in the previous project, and, it should be actually very easy in the Rivet. you can do a call out. In soft plan, you can basically just have it and crop it and change the scale to be larger. Again, I expect the whole, you know, sheets will be, of course, smaller scale, maybe like 8th of an inch, because they should be print ready, 11 by 17. So again, you select the same, template that you have used, whether it was soft plan template or the, Rivet template, and the sheets, 11 by 17 sheets, and just basically add your views or plans. You need to have a site plan showing the footprint, so the outside perimeter of the building, showing, and showing the setbacks, landscape buffer, and parking spaces, and then a floor plan for the entire building showing both tenants. Again, one would be empty, and one would actually have all these rooms, and the 4 elevations, and then the typical 2 3-dimensional views taken from opposite corners, so you can actually have the the angle correctly, and then of course, as you see best, trying to spice it up a little bit. And here's basically the grading. And I know that we will not be able to actually have this. Maybe we will, I don't know. Maybe if we are successful doing this Zoom meetings online as a group, there's only 7 of you, so it'll be 8 of us in this group. Maybe we can actually, schedule these as, 15 minutes maybe or so presentations that you can do. Or if we can't, we just, that's bonus. Anyways, so that's kind of like it. If you have any questions about this, if you need any more help with this, that's a starting point. Do not put it off. What I'm going to ask you actually is, from this point on, I would need, a daily, or not a daily, but a weekly daily class, basically. So we have a class on Monday, and we have a class on Wednesday. That's how, before this thing, started, we had it. I would like to get an update from you on those days. So I would expect an update on Wednesday at, 9 o'clock, between 9 and 11. Again, let's actually meet online and let's discuss this. All of us are home, unless you have one of these essential jobs that you're still going to go to work. But regardless, even if you go to work, and staying safe and healthy, hopefully. But, the class time, was booked and was reserved, was basically part of your schedule anyways. So I expect all of you to be available on Mondays and Wednesdays between 9 o'clock in the morning and 11:15 in the morning. So this is our time, and we need to hook up and connect. So back to my point is, I expect updates to show me, to tell me, and I would suggest that you either capture, there's a lot of programs, or you can even just use, control print screen, or you can use Snapit, or if you're actually able to do so, most programs, most, computers and laptops, they have a utility, whether to actually, like your, Rivet or soft plan, whatnot, you can actually print it. I actually downloaded, one, and purchased this here, but you don't have to purchase it. PDF $9.95. It actually can convert everything, anything, to a PDF file, and that's basically how I communicate, with, individuals and clients.